Good evening, everybody. I hope I'm audible to everyone. Good evening, Prabha. Even you were missing in the last 2 classes, isn't it? Darshna was there, and 1 or 2 students were there, else no one was there. Yeah, I understood there was some confusion because I don't expect certain students to miss sessions. So I didn't expect it, Prabha, Rajiv, and some other students also not to be there. Okay, Kiran. Good evening. Welcome to class. You have joined recently, so for your reference, you can see the previous recordings to get an understanding to what has been done previously. Okay. We have been having classes since last 6-7 months, so you can just catch up with what is there in the recordings. All right. So in the last class, we discussed about the equilibrium output for a producer operating in a perfectly competitive market. Okay, we discussed that. Now today we are going to discuss about the determination of equilibrium level in a monopoly. Okay, so can you just tell me what monopoly is? What is a monopoly market? Can you write the essential features of the same, everybody? Okay. Sole proprietor, no competitor, price makers, only one seller will be there, one seller and many buyers. Yes. Okay. Yes, that's correct. Only one service provider is there. Yeah. So it's a type of a market structure in which there is just a single seller for a particular commodity. He is the whole soul in charge of the market. He can take his own decisions. He is not answerable to anybody, and there is certainly restriction of entry and exit into the market. No one can enter the market, no one can leave the market without like with ease. This cannot be done, and the product that such type of manufacturers offer is exclusive by nature. It can be a product or it can be a service. So the example for this is the Indian Railways. The other example on a more broader scale is the monopoly of. Good evening, Kelvin. How are you? Okay. So the other example for monopoly is a market structure such as that of the oil industry. I'm good, Kelvin. I'm very good. Like in the sector of petrol and similar resources, the Gulf countries have a monopoly. They are the sole suppliers of this product in the international market. So they have monopoly. They are the price makers. They can decide their own strategies, own policies. They can frame them, and there is no restriction on them. Okay, so in case of a monopoly market, the seller is the price maker. He makes the price. He decides the price himself. He is governed by his own instincts. And in a perfect competition, the price was given by the market. It was decided on the basis of the free interaction between demand and supply. And every every person operating in that market is supposed to accept that price. But there is no such restriction in a monopoly. Okay, Prabha. All right. There was just one mobile company. Yeah, this is and in India, like previously, Nokia was the single largest selling company in the mobile industry. Nokia, it was the major shareholder of the market. But now the scene has changed a lot since the last 3-4 years, since the introduction of smartphones in the market. Nokia is totally an extinct company now as far as smartphones are concerned. Like now the whole market is in the hands of Samsung, then some with Sony Ericsson, and surprisingly there's a company in the name of Micromax Mobiles. Micromax, it's an Indian brand, and it has become the largest smartphone seller in India. And now what is happening is that it's good for the Indian market. The people are preferring Indian mobiles. They are not going for the foreign made mobiles, those which are manufactured outside India. Gioni, there's a company by the name of Gioni. Then there is Micromax. These are all Indian brands which are being preferred, and they are being accepted widely by the people in India. So this is a rare thing to be seen. Okay. So now, since we have been discussing about monopoly, so for the monopoly also, the demand curve of the market is the demand curve for the monopolist himself. Like whatever is the demand curve for the market, that he is going to assume as his own demand curve, the demand for his own particular product. So now, since we have been saying that he is the sole decider, he is the decision maker in such a market, he is the price maker. So is it right to say that he can sell his product at any price? No, it is not right to say that. A monopolist is a price maker, but still he is bound by certain restrictions. He is also bound, and he cannot charge abrupt prices from the public. He cannot do that. He has to take certain things into consideration. Okay. Practically, he cannot do that. Theoretically, we can say that he can make any price for his product. So now, what is there is, when we talk about the competitive market, the demand curve is completely elastic. The demand curve is elastic. What is the meaning of this statement? What does the statement stands for? That the demand curve is elastic. Can you tell me? When price changes, quantity demand changes. Yes, there's a direct relationship between the price and the quantity. That is elasticity. So it is an elastic curve. The demand curve is elastic in such a market, and it is horizontal in a price quantity graph. Like when we are going to plot the price and the quantity, it will turn out to be a horizontal line. So a competitive seller can sell as much as he wants at the market price. However, the demand curve for all sellers in the market is downward sloping, whereas demand quantity increases as price decreases. That is the normal tendency. As the price will go down, the demand will increase. So that is what we see in such a market. For a pure monopolist, it supplies the entire market supply and thus downward sloping. So since a monopoly is a price maker, it will determine what quantity of output will yield the greatest profits. But let us first see how he can maximize his revenue, because his profits are dependent on the revenue. So how is that going to have an impact on the profits? So we can say that the monopolist will only charge a single price for its product, and that is not subject to government regulation. Okay, so he has a free hand in this regard. He is not bound by the government, but he will charge a single price for the commodity. So in trying to maximize the revenue, this is his first target, how he can maximize his revenue. The monopolist has a dilemma. The monopolist can only sell more product if it lowers its prices. This is because this is human nature. You are not going to buy an expensive product because its demand curve slopes downward, as demand curves generally do, since demand only increases when decreasing prices. But the marginal revenue gained by selling one additional unit will always be less than the price of that unit, because the monopolist will have to sell all of its unit at a lower price. Yeah, like we said, he is the price maker. So if he wants to increase his revenue, the monopolist will take a step, and what he will do is he will lower the price, and then definitely the sale for a product will go up. But when he is lowering his price, he is not getting the expected marginal revenue from the sale of every additional unit. He is not benefited in that way. So how he is going to match up? Now here is an example, like except for the first unit, the marginal revenue is always less than the price. For instance, suppose a monopolist can sell one widget for $100, but it can sell two widgets for 90. Okay, if he keeps the price as 100, his sale is just of one widget, and if he lowers it to 90, then he can sell two. So in all he can get $180. So producing one widget, the monopolist has the total revenue of $100, and producing two widgets and selling them for 90, he gets $180. Therefore, the monopolist's marginal revenue is 80. Like from going to one extra unit, like from going from 1 to 2, the extra amount which he is getting is 80. Previously he was getting 100 for one, now 180 for two. So this total addition is 80. But this is 80, which is already $10 less than the price at which we are selling. We are offering the product at $90 per unit, and he is getting the additional revenue of 80. So he is already lacking behind by $10. Okay. So in next case, if we sell 3 widgets at ₹75, now he has further lowered the price to increase his sales. Now his total revenue is $225. Now the marginal revenue is only $45. Like it's $225, and previously for 2 units it was $180. So 225 minus 180 is 45. So with one additional unit, now he is getting just $45 as the extra revenue. So as the quantity produced increases, the marginal revenue continually declines until it becomes 0, then negative. So this is the case this is like a normal tendency, and this is applicable in case of a monopolist also. Alright, so this is the point that this paragraph is trying to tell us, that his marginal revenue curve will be similar to what it was previously, like what we have seen in the previous cases. It will be like this only. His marginal revenue curve will be like in the case of a perfect competition, we saw that the marginal revenue curve was like this, isn't it? Marginal revenue is equal to average revenue. This was the marginal cost. It was cutting at this point, and from here we were drawing the different structures depicting different types of profits. For a monopoly, the curve will be like this. will be this. And it will be, the marginal revenue curve will be like this, because the marginal revenue for every additional unit sold is decreasing. Like this is the quantity sold. So let's assume this to be the quantity, and this is the revenue. So when we are selling, like I'll just write, give me a minute. Like this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, let's assume that. So for 1 unit, his marginal revenue is at this point. No, I'll make it better. For 1 unit, it is this much. For 2 units, it has declined. For 3 units, it is less. And by the 4th unit, it has become even negative. So this is how his marginal revenue curve is shaped. Okay. And the demand curve is also shaped like this. So this is the demand curve, the second one, and this is the revenue curve. So let's see further. Now this is in contrast to a competitive market, where the competitive firm can sell all that it wants for the market price. Therefore, its marginal revenue is equal to the marginal price is equal to the market price. So as a monopolist increases the production, marginal revenue continually declines until it actually becomes negative. So at this point, the monopolist is earning the maximum total revenue. So more production after that point will cause total revenue to decline. So we have to find out the point at which his revenue is maximum. We have to find that quantity of output or that demand for the monopolist. So this is how his graph looks like. This is the demand curve and this is the revenue curve. So the monopolist will increase the production as long as demand is elastic, but increased quantities yields increased revenue. When demand becomes inelastic, then increasing the quantity more decreases the total revenue. So the monopolist is going to set its price at some point where demand is elastic. Now after a particular point, the demand will become inelastic. There will be no change to the demand. Now in that case, going further will result in reduction in the total revenue being generated. So at that point, the monopolist has to stop and he has to find his optimum level of output. Now, how is he going to proceed? The same condition is applicable over here also. We saw in the perfectly competitive market that for equilibrium, the essential condition was that the marginal revenue must be equal to the marginal cost and the marginal cost curve must cut the marginal revenue curve from below. That was the essential condition. So in this case also, the same condition is applicable. The condition is not going to change. Okay. Now let's see the first condition. MR should be equal to MC. So because as long as marginal revenue is greater than the marginal cost, then producing an additional unit will increase the profits. Yes, when the revenue is more than the cost incurred, definitely we are going to have profits only. When marginal revenue equals the marginal cost, then the monopolist looks to the demand curve to see what price that corresponds to. At that point, he has to look and he has to take a decision at this point. when MR and MC are equal. At that point, the profit is maximized. If the monopolist increases production beyond that, then the marginal revenue will decline, okay, and marginal cost will be more. If he'll go beyond that point, then his marginal cost will be higher and revenue will be less, and definitely he will have a loss. His profits will decrease, not loss, but profits will go down because the cost is continuously increasing. So there's no point in increasing the production further. Hello Sunil, good evening, welcome to class. You are a little late today. Okay, all right. So let's just have a look at this graph. There's some problem. The color is not changing today of the pointer and all. So you can see over here, there is the graph. Don't worry, we don't have too many graphs in this one. Okay, don't worry. Hello Nasrullah. This seems to be a little difficult one, but again it's easy. So this red line is the marginal revenue line. This green is the market demand, and the marginal, and this orange line is the marginal cost line. Okay, this is the marginal cost line. So this is the point at which marginal revenue and marginal costs are equal to each other. MR is equal to MC at this point. They are cutting each other at this. Okay, and then there is the average total cost or average cost. We can just say average cost or average total cost. So this is that average total cost line. So like the previous graph only, in the previous graph we drew the average cost line beyond the marginal cost line in the initial diagram. So same here, it will be beyond this line, beyond the red line. It will not exceed it. Okay. So now this is the point of equilibrium for the manufacturer, because the essential condition is being satisfied here. Number one, marginal revenue and marginal costs are equal, and then the marginal cost is cutting the marginal revenue curve from below also. In this case, this is more important. Marginal revenue must be equal to marginal cost. So from this point, we are going to draw a line to touch the demand graph. Okay, this is the demand graph. So this is the point at which this point touches the green line. So this is our first point of resting. We are going to rest at this point. Then the second line should be, the second point of the graph should be the point at which this equilibrium point touches the total cost line. So it is touching the total cost line at this point, this particular point. So from these 2 points, we are going to draw straight lines towards the y-axis, and we are going to get the area of profit. So this is the area of monopoly profit, as you can see. Okay, and this is the formula. Formula is P minus ATC into quantity. P stands for the price of 1 unit. Like the price is 10 per unit. The total cost of manufacturing is 8 into the quantity sold. Like we are selling 10 units. So 20 will be our profit. 2 into 10 is 20. So this 20 is shown by this particular area. Okay. Is it clear? Rajiv, Asiya, Ajit, Kiran, Soni, Kelvin, Shabnam, Nasrullah. All right. I'll just plot the graph over here, okay, to make it better, like make it easy for you to understand. I'll just draw it over here so that you can have a better understanding. So the first is the y-axis. What is happening? Yes, this is the x-axis. Now the first line that we are going to draw is the marginal revenue line. It will cross the x-axis. The next line that we are going to draw is the market demand. It will be here. The next is the marginal cost line, which we are going to draw over here. I'll write also side by side. This is marginal cost. This is demand. This is the marginal revenue. So this is the point of equilibrium. Okay. Now from this point, one more thing that we have to draw is the average total cost or the total cost graph. So total cost graph will be like this. Yes, it will be like this. This is the average total cost. Alright, so it will be more towards this side. So from this point we are going to draw a point that is going to touch the line at that is going to touch the demand line. So this is the point. Then the second resting point for this should be the point at which it touches the average total cost. Let's assume it is this point. So from here till here is the area of profit for the producer, for the monopolist. Okay. So this is the point of, this is the area of profit. So I hope now the plotting is clear. Okay. So it's simple. Just a little bit practice is needed. That's it. So this is the first graph. So the point to be noted over here is that the monopoly does not have a supply curve because it sets the supply according to the demand. It adjusts according to the demand. So in most markets, the market price is determined by the intersection of the demand curve and the supply curve. However, for a monopoly, the market price is not set by the intersection of the demand and supply. For a monopolist, he himself decides what will be the supply. So the price will be the point at which his profits are maximized, which will then determine what the supply will be. Like we saw over here that we are going from this point to the demand because we want to be at that point where the demand is maximum. Like we want to be at equilibrium also, and we want to attain the maximum demand point also. So this is the point at which the demand is maximum. So we will aim for that as a monopolist. So to summarize, we can say that the monopolist finds the profit maximizing output by finding that quantity where marginal revenue equals the marginal cost, then projects that quantity onto the market demand curve to determine what market price corresponds to that quantity. and the monopolist's economic profit is then equal to the average revenue minus the average total cost multiplied by the number of units sold. Okay, so this is a little reverse. In this, the price is determined on the basis of the demand. Okay, the demand is first calculated, then the price is decided. So this is the formula for the profit. In simple words, it's total revenue minus total cost. So there are two misconceptions about the monopoly that this analysis refutes. It just does away with those two misconceptions. The first is that the monopolist charges the highest prices possible and that it seeks a maximum per unit profit. So this possibility is over here. We don't go by the highest priced funda. The target is the maximum demand at the equilibrium point. Okay, so this analysis demonstrates that monopolies do not charge the highest price because it does not yield the maximum profit. After all, the highest price could be charged only if the monopolist produces 1 unit of output. Obviously, it could never cover its fixed cost by producing 1 unit of output, so it's not going to charge the highest price possible. Like we saw in that example, one widget for $100. So that is not a practical possibility. Now here is a simple graph which shows the widget selling capacity of the firm. Like when it's $30, sale is total profit is $100. At 40, it's 120. At 60, it's $160 the profit. At 80, it's 120, and at 100, it's again 80. So the maximum price it can offer for the product is $60 because at selling at this price, it is getting the maximum of profit in the market, maximum profit. So it will go for 60 rather than going for 100 per unit because it's getting only $80 as the profit. Okay. So over here the goal is profit maximization, not the price maximization. And that can be achieved only when the marginal revenue is greater than the marginal cost. So the monopolist has no interest in maximizing the per unit profit since this does not yield the greatest profit. Alright. Like so far the things are clear, everyone? Okay. Now the next condition is like if the monopolist is having losses, how is going to make up for that? It will be that the monopolist can actually lose money if the average total cost is greater than the price that people are willing to pay for any quantity of output. Losses can be caused by a change in consumer tastes or by changes in the cost of inputs as well. Okay, sometimes like the prices remains the same, still we go into losses because the consumer changes their tastes, then the sales go down. So if the monopolist cannot make a profit, then it will shut down the firm so it can put the resources to better uses. So monopolist will only produce in the short run to minimize the losses. If it perceives that market conditions will change or that it will be able to earn a profit in the future. Okay, so it will shut down in the short run because if he has a feeling that in future the market conditions will change and he is going to earn the profits, then only he will shut the production and he will wait for a while. It's raining here very heavily since today morning. It's looking like monsoon rains, non-stop rains we are having since morning. and it's pretty cold now. As it was a little hot this time. So like the woolens were kept back, but now again they have to be taken out today since morning. Yeah, coming back to this. So in this case, what will he do? He will produce the quantity where the marginal revenue equals the marginal cost, because that is the quantity that corresponds to the market price that will minimize its losses. So the same graph is there, same thing is there, but the only change is in the position of the total cost curve. In the previous graph, you saw that this total cost curve was beyond this orange marginal cost curve. Marginal cost was always less than, this average cost was always less than the marginal cost. Let's just compare. Yeah, it was beyond this line, the marginal cost line, the average cost. But if the firm is incurring losses, then it will be a situation in which the total cost will be higher than the marginal cost. So the step is the same procedure. This is the equilibrium point. From this we are going to draw a line to the green, that is the market demand curve. So this point, then next is the total cost line. We are going to draw a line to the total cost curve. So this is the point. So from this is the area of loss for a manufacturer in the short run, okay, or in the monopoly, we can say. Like same thing is there, same type of plotting. This is the marginal cost. This is the market demand. And this is the marginal cost. Sorry, I said marginal cost that time. That is marginal revenue. This is the point of equilibrium from here till here. And this is average total cost. So it will be, this is a case of loss. So this total cost will be, 1 minute. This total cost will be above that marginal revenue, marginal cost line. This is total cost. And this is marginal cost. So from here till here. So this is the point. Then this is the point. And this is the area of loss for a manufacturer in the monopoly market. Okay. So in the long run, a monopolist generally have a profit only. So this is clear to everybody? Yes, Prabha, that is short run loss. It is only in the short run. So now we come to the second part of this, that is price discrimination. If you remember, when we were discussing about the different types of market structures, I told you that in a monopoly, the manufacturer or the monopolist, he has the option of charging different price for the same product from different consumers. Okay, he can vary the prices according to the consumer. He can vary the prices according to the capacity of the consumer to pay, depending upon the elasticity of demand. If it is elastic, then it can do variations, but it is not so, then he is not going to vary the prices. Okay, so now if the monopolist opts this policy of price discrimination, then what situations can he encounter? That is what we are going to see next. Okay, so a company in a competitive market, this is something that we know. So quantity and price are adjusted dependent upon the elasticity of the product. So if the demand is inelastic, then the monopolist can increase the profits by increasing the prices, where the increase in price more than offsets the drop in quantity. But if demand is elastic, then the decrease in quantity sold will more than offset the increase in price, resulting in lower revenue for the monopoly. Means like he will act depending on the situation. Like if the elasticity of demand for the product is same for the entire market, then the monopolist will have maximum gains if he will sell the product at a single price to every consumer. Okay, but if he feels he can do the variation in the prices, he will definitely do that. So, how can we understand this? A monopoly seeks to maximize the profits by restricting its quantity of output so that marginal revenue equals the marginal cost. So this output is less than what would occur in a competitive market because the marginal revenue of a monopolist selling at a single price is less than what the output would be at the market price anywhere on the demand curve. This is little technical. So monopolist can only increase the sale of its product by reducing its price. But in doing so, it also earns less revenue on all previous units. So however, if a monopolist can price its product according to who the buyers are, then it can significantly increase its profits by setting the profit maximizing price for each market segment. It depends on the paying capacity of the buyer. Like the example is the crude oil. It goes from the Gulf countries to different parts of the world. So it is available at a lower price for a underdeveloped country like Uganda, Kenya. Okay. And then it may be available at a little higher price to a developing country like India. It may be available at a very high price to US, Japan, China, developed countries like them. Okay, so that is an example of price discrimination. The price discrimination is done on the basis of the paying capacity of the buyer. So price discrimination means selling the product at different prices for different classes of buyers based on their differing elasticity of demand for the product or service. Whether the product or service actually differs among the price groups is secondary, but in most cases, the different prices charged are not related to the difference in the cost of providing the underlying items. Okay, the cost may remain the same. The cost of manufacturing may turn out to be more or less the same, but the only difference is in the revenue. So the monopolists strive to charge the highest prices where demand is inelastic. That is where the higher price leads to higher revenue in spite of the decreasing quantity sold at the higher prices. And he takes lower prices for the sensitive buyers, where higher prices would decrease the quantity sold. So the products sold to different classes of buyers are sometimes different, but the difference has no significant relationship with the price differentials. So the basic reason behind this practice is the profit earning target. It does not reflect the cost of production differences among the product. Means it's very simple to understand, like this is the basic fundamental feature of a monopolist market. He is trying to maximize his profit, and in doing so he can just sell the same product at different prices. Like we have the example is given over here. Windows 7 operating system is available in several versions, including a starter edition, Windows 7 Home Premium for people who have more powerful computers, 7 Professional for business, and its top edition Windows 7 Ultimate for big enterprises. So the same thing is there with little bit of variations, but it will it is available at different prices to the different types of users. Okay. When it happens, gray market will rise. Yes, Prabha, and it is like acceptable to the government also. Like in India, the LPG cylinder, the liquefied petroleum gas that is available in cylinder, the domestic cylinders that are sold exclusively by the government, means the government is the manufacturer of the same, and the government has different companies for its marketing and selling. So that cylinder is available to the public at the subsidized price. So when it comes to the domestic user, the same cylinder is available at a lower price. But when it comes to a commercial user, like hotels, restaurants, or the people who are into catering business, so the same cylinder is available at a higher price to them. It is available without the subsidy. Yeah, to the industries as well. So it's available without the subsidy to those people. So that is an example of price discrimination by the government. And it is so that the price discrimination is not only in terms of money, it can be in terms of service as well. Okay. So only monopolies can practice price discrimination, because otherwise competition would prevent price discrimination by setting competitive prices. So the companies which can practice monopolistic competition can practice price discrimination to some degree. So the monopolist has to be very careful in like identifying in which market it has to charge which type of price. So there are 2 or 3 degrees to this price discrimination. What are those? When the monopolist can readily identify discrete markets, segments with different demand elasticities, the monopolist charges the profit maximizing price for each of the segments. So this is called the 3rd degree price discrimination. Some examples of 3rd degree price discrimination include charging different prices according to age, or by charging the same price to everyone but providing financial aid for lower income buyers. Like when we go to an amusement park, the price of the same ticket is less for the young children, it is less for the senior citizens, but it is like on a higher side for the general people, adult people. So this is an example of 3rd degree price discrimination. The price is different for different buyers, and it can also be like it can also be by some other method, providing financial aid to some lower income people. That can also be an example of price discrimination. Okay, then the 2nd degree is when the monopolist knows that there are different market segments but cannot identify the segments or cannot charge different prices specifically to those segments, then the monopolist resorts to different selling techniques that would appeal to different groups. This is called 2nd degree price discrimination. Like examples of this type of market segmentation is selling a different unit price depending on the amount bought or through the use of coupons. Yeah, coupons are there. So generally the buyers, such as most business and wealthy people who are not price sensitive, do not take the time to clip coupons. Buyers who are price sensitive often do clip coupons and thus get the discounted price. So some segments of the population, such as the unemployed, also have more time to clip coupons. So it depends on the paying capacity of the buyer. If they are big business houses or wealthy people, they will not take much of time to take care of these coupons, but others will. The benefit is greater profits. That is pretty obvious. This all exercise is just directed towards higher profits. Now comes the first degree price discrimination. So what is this is, although like in other words, it can price its product so that it is exactly equal to each buyer's willingness to pay, like varying the price according to the paying capacity. No monopoly can practice perfect price discrimination. It does simplify the analysis because its marginal revenue curve is exactly equal to the market demand curve. So like what it can do is, it can just make some changes in the prices. It's raining heavily actually. The wind is coming from the window. These are just 3 types of conditions which can be practiced. Okay, but you know, the basic thing that we need to know is that what is monopoly, how is the profit maximizing output determined, and what are these 3 degrees of discriminations. Okay, so here is one important discussion, that are auctions or individual sales good examples of perfect price discrimination? But the opinion is that no, they are not good examples of price discrimination, because in such types of places, seller is negotiating the price, he is not setting the price. Okay, so in this case, the buyer may be a better negotiator and he may get a better benefit out of the situation. Then the product or service being offered is not from a monopoly. So that is again there. The product is not offered by a monopolist. It is just a sale by a chance. So it does not satisfy the essential conditions. Now we come to the last and the main part of this. Like there can be 2 types of graphs over here. The first is showing the profit of a monopoly selling its product at only a single price. When the price is singly, it's the same for all the manufacturers, for all the buyers. Okay, so this is just like what we have discussed previously. Same graph, the first graph that we discussed, the profit maximizing revenue. This is the equilibrium point. The total cost is below the marginal cost, so the chances are of getting profits. So we will plot and we will get the profit, the monopoly profit with a single price. And this is monopoly profit with perfect price discrimination, when the price discrimination is done. So you don't need to have a detailed knowledge of the graph. You just need to know that there are 3 degrees of price discrimination, first, second and third degree. Okay, that is important, and the details of that are important. Alright, what is the second graph showing? It is showing the profit of a monopoly that practice perfect price discrimination by selling its product to each buyer for exactly what they are willing to pay. It depends on the paying capacity. The example I told you, sale of petrol to different countries at different prices. That is a perfect example of discrimination in price by a monopolist. Okay, so this brings us to the end of this particular topic, and this is all in the monopoly. In the next class, we'll be doing about monopolistic competition. Okay, monopolistic competition is very much similar to monopoly only. So we can try and cover other things as well in the next class. So did you all practice those graphs, the graphs of perfect competition? Anybody practice them? Asya, Rajiv, Prabha, Ajit, Kiran. Kiran, you are coming for the first time. Soni, Kelvin, Sunil, Shabnam, Sarfaraz, first time I think. Okay, you practice the short run? Okay, Kiran, please go through them. And you know, the most of the graph part is just in the perfect computation. If you have understood that, then you won't have problems in understanding the further graphs, because the graphs are very less in number in further. You know, in perfect computation only there were 5 graphs, if you remember. 4 under short run and 1 under the long run. There was supernormal profit, then normal profit, then shutdown point, and then there were losses. And in the long run there was just normal profit. So those are 5 graphs and 2 graphs in monopoly. One is normal graph when there is profit, and the second is the loss graph. So that is all. You can practice those 6-7 graphs in one go. It will be easy for you. Okay? Please do that. It will help you. Otherwise you won't understand anything when you sit down to study it next time. Okay. So this brings us to the end of the class. Prabha, monopolistic competition is next. Okay? So we'll be doing that in the next class. Monopolistic competition. It's a combination of monopoly and perfect competition. So everybody, thanks for your time. Have a great week ahead. Enjoy your work and take good care of yourselves. In India, the most terrible disease that is hitting the cities is swine flu. Yeah, swine flu. Bird flu. Okay. Bird flu. No, it's swine flu, Sunil. Yeah, actually swine is a bird only. So it's really like hitting the people very badly in India, all across. So let's meet in the next class. Enjoy your week. Thanks for your time, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed. Please fill the feedback form. Yeah, Sunil, thanks for that. Everybody, please fill the feedback form. Bye. Good night. See you all in the next class. Please don't miss these sessions because they are important. They are all based on graphs. Alright? Okay. Bye.